The following may contain offensive language, adult humor, and or content that some viewers may find offensive. The views and opinions expressed by any one speaker does not explicitly or necessarily reflect or represent those of Mark Radulich or W2M Network. Please listen with caution, or don't listen at all. All right, fight fans, we are live here for an alternative commentary. Tyson Fury versus Francis Ngannou, the battle of the baddest. And here he is, folks, the baddest podcaster on the planet, Robert Winfree from 401mania.com. How do you do, sir?
You know, I was looking forward to having a Saturday off.
Yeah, go fuck you.
There's no UFC event tonight, which is a rarity. And that's usually what I do for 6.5 hours every Saturday. And again, I was looking forward to it. And then my good friend, my podcast partner, Mark Radulich said, "Hey, there's this unbearably stupid thing. And I want to talk about it, and there's no one I want to talk about it with more than you." And I went, all right.
Robert Winfree, everybody.
I will engage in this stupidity.
That's right. I am your host, the man data reporter, and frankly, I'm mortified, Mr. Mark Radulich. And okay, so we've already got comments. We've got a worldwide audience already tuning in, Robert. So behave yourself. And Vanessa Redeck,
if you're tuning in, you know what you're getting.
on one of our Facebook groups here, asking when we're starting. I mean, 6 o'clock. They said that we were heading into the main event, so any minute now. I mean, we haven't even started ring walks yet, but let's go ahead and get into.
Well, we just had the concert, Mark.
Yes, the concert. The concert.
Now it's all the sponsors, and look at all the people who paid money to be on this, and look at all the people in attendance that the Saudi government paid to be here.
Okay. Real quick, if you are turning into this is a live reaction alternative commentary. This is me and Robert, Brady boxes, telling you what's happening during the fight. If you are here, watch our audience now plummet. If you are here looking for us to show you the fight, that's illegal. Go on the high C somewhere and find that stream, if you will. We will not be showing the fight. That's illegal.
But for the record, I do not blame anyone for using alternate methods when they're charging $80 for one fight.
Yeah, I get that. Well, I mean, we'll talk about the undercard in a minute. All right, so what are we doing here? So the Battle of the Baddest is an ongoing heavyweight professional crossover boxing match between reigning
WBC.
Oh my God, WBC heavyweight champion Tyson Fury and former UFC heavyweight champion Francis Ngannou, which is taking place today in Saudi Arabia. This has been
we have approved. A countdown.
Oh boy,
20 minutes.
That'll give us time to TikTok. Give me a moment. This has been approved by the British Board of Control to be hosting which is the host commission for the event. So a little bit of background here. Tyson Fury had his trifecta, his trilogy with Deontay Wilder, which he came out was the resounding winner of the WBC Heavyweight Championship.
He won all three of those fights. Screw the judges in the first.
We covered those. You can check them out in our archive. Same format. Then he had a fight with Dillian Whyte, which Dillian Whyte,
giant waste of everyone's time.
He showed up and he got his check and he left. That was fine.
Look, they both showed up, they both got a check, and they both fought open air in England, like in spring. Wasn't that? Like, what was
Yeah.
the date on that one?
That was like March or April.
Yeah,
of
March,
last year.
outdoor stadium was in London, I want to say. I think it was at the O2
Mhm.
or Wembley, one of those big
It was
things. Like,
Wembley.
yeah, Wembley. And like, anytime you got a close up of them during that fight, you could see the steam coming off of them. That was a terrible decision.
Anyway, after Tyson Fury, if I can get through the history of this. After Tyson Fury resoundingly won a decision without breaking a sweat against Dillian Whyte, it was and over on the other side of the boxing landscape, you had Anthony Joshua losing his title to Alexander Usyk, who went up at weight class into heavyweight, and then they had their rematch, and Usyk beat him again, and so we were highway to Tyson Fury versus Alexander Usyk. It didn't happen, and then Usyk just fought somebody, didn't he? Usyk fought.
Yeah, I forget who. Somebody he knocked out late. Big guy.
He knocked out what's his nuts?
The guy you like.
Yeah. So Alexander Usyk had a mandatory.
I want to say.
Yeah, something like that.
I'll look it up.
Yeah. Okay, I'll keep talking. You look it up. So Alexander Usyk had a mandatory challenger, and then there was talk of like this big giant heavyweight boxing card that Saudi Arabia was going to put on.
It was Daniel Dubois.
Right. Thanks, Pat. Daniel Dubois, currently watching, one of our friends of the show, currently watching on YouTube, along with the rest of our great audience.
Yep.
And so again, we were looking at, well, what's Tyson Fury going to do? And Wiley Zhang was thrown out there, and a couple of different people.
Wait, sorry, hang on. Did you just say Weili Zhang?
No, yeah, I think that's the female UFC fighter.
That would be the UFC Women's Strawweight Champion.
Yeah, the Chinese guy, Chinese Chinaman. Currently the WBO something or other.
It's Zhang something or other.
Yeah,
might be Weili Zhang.
That was what I was thinking of. I knew it was somewhere in the ballpark. So he was thrown out there as a possible opponent. There were a couple of other people bandied about, but eventually this was thrown into Tyson Fury's lap, and it was kind of like, do this. Let's get some interest in Saudi Arabian boxing here, and then we'll get you the big fight with Usyk. On the other side, and this is where I'm going to pitch it to you for the short history of how Francis Ngannou got from I'm just going to put this up here. Got from the UFC heavyweight championship to here, because he also had a thorny, wild path to this fight.
Yeah, that's one way to put it. So, sort of the weird story of Francis Ngannou is he joins the UFC, and immediately, like, there's a lot of technical stuff that needs to be fixed, but he's a big guy, he's got power, and maybe there's something there. He works his way to his first title opportunity and fights he comes into that off the back of turning Alistair Overeem into a Pez dispenser. One of the most brutal knockouts you'll ever see, by the way.
I actually vaguely remember that. Yeah, Alistair Overeem lost some math and a little bit of horse meat.
And now weighs like 206 pounds and is running for office in the Netherlands.
I was going to say, I think Francis Ngannou knocked him into welterweight.
Give or take. He's a light heavyweight. He says he's a light heavyweight now, which tracks given how tall he is. But
yeah,
he comes into his first title shot, wave of momentum, feeling on top of the world, and gasses himself out in 30 seconds fighting Stipe Miocic. Stipe loses the first round, wins every other round, wins the rest of them. Not very close. Was not really prepared and ready for that fight. Dana White, UFC president, has a less than charitable reaction to this, as he is wont to do. Compounding this is the fight after, when he and Derek Lewis engage in a 15-minute staring contest in what would have been the worst fight of that calendar year if not for Phil Brooks and Mike Jackson.
On the scale,
CM Punk was there.
On
the UFC.
Oh, God, that's right.
Phil Brooks, CM Punk, and Mike Jackson fought for 15 minutes that same year.
Honestly, Mike Jonas and my bonus son Trey have had a better fight than that one. They are 9-12.
I'm sure. So
it was more entertaining at least.
So Dana White gets pissy about this
Mm-hmm.
and kind of blows up his relationship with Francis Ngannou. Francis sticks around. Now he rebounds, he wins a couple of fights. I believe in the aftermath of that, he knocked out both Kane and Junior Dos Santos. I wish to double check this so I don't make sure. So
I got it. Keep going. Keep going.
He long story again. The long story short here is
he knocked out Curtis Blades. He knocked out he knocked out Cain Velasquez, and then he knocked out Junior Dos Santos.
And mostly that gets him back to a rematch with Stipe.
Yeah, after he knocked out Rosenstruik.
Yeah, the Rosenstruik fight. Okay. Another really short one that I forget. I've misplaced that in the timeline on occasion. Anyway, he gets his title shot, fights Stipe Miocic in the Apex in front of nobody, and bounces his head off of the canvas like a basketball. Knocks him stiff as a board. I want to say it was the second round, but it might have been the first. You've got the list right there. Confirm for me, please.
What are we talking about?
Ngannou's title fight with his win over Stipe. Was that first or second round?
Second round.
Second, okay. Wins the first round too, by the way. So he's the champion, and Stipe hasn't been seen since. He was supposed to fight John Jones in about a month. That fell apart because John tore his shoulder. And tore his pec. And that's a whole thing. But he knocked Stipe so hard that he became coherent. Like you could understand what he said for a little bit there. It was kind of crazy.
So somehow he developed a British accent. Nobody quite knows why.
I love Stipe. I hate joshing him like that, but he's a good guy. But he gets the big title win, and you think maybe there's something here, but Stipe never forgot how badly he was treated. And he has one more fight on his contract. He has one of the first deals that the UFC implemented after being forced into basically by legal action to put sunset clauses into their contract where they could no longer extend no matter what if the guy doesn't sign.
Keep going. Just keep going. I just put that up for the viewers.
Okay. And his last fight is his next one. He defends the heavyweight title against Cyril Gane, a fight I expected him to lose. Frankly, I did not score it for him. But you can score it for him. I don't think it's wrong. And his contract lapsed. That's it. His contract was done with the UFC. And there was some thought about, okay, the UFC will try to get him to stick around. He just beat the next best guy in line. John Jones is talking about coming back and fighting at heavyweight. John Jones and Francis Ngannou is an easy fight to make. But Francis doesn't want to be in business with the UFC anymore. So he turns down every offer they give him. And Dana White doing we offered him more money than anyone's ever been offered in the history of the UFC. I'm sure $2 million a fight really breaks your back, buddy. And he walks. He wants to do other things. He believes more in himself than what the UFC was offering. Moreover, the actual contract, again, some of this has been talked about, what the UFC was offering him was for the John Jones fight, not for every fight on his next 5 fights. So, it was a mess. It was badly handled. If you want detail on it, the YouTube channel Mixed Molly Whoppery has a 3-part documentary series on Francis Ngannou. I recommend watching it.
I'm sure you've also covered it ad nauseum on your own podcast if you'd like
on
to
occasion. But to get to where we are,
that would be the 401 Ground and Pound podcast that you can find in the MMA zone of 401mania.com.
You can find it wherever your podcasts are. We're up on YouTube.
Please promote your brand, Robert.
No.
I fucking got an agent you.
So yeah, I've talked about this a lot. There's the other one there that you can look at. He signs with the PFL that's where his next few MMA fights are going to be, and he's apparently in the contract that he signed, it's guaranteed that every guy who fights him gets at least $2 million. So he's actually he actually put his money where his mouth is about wanting to look out for the other fighters. So
no, that's fine. It's fine, but it's one of those where I'm happy for the fighters. That's awesome for Francis Ngannou, my hero. Also, could you find another way to make the UFC look even shittier? because it's not like they have the world's greatest reputation as it is.
Vince McMahon came out today and was complimentary of Dana White, and that really just tells you all you
and
They're
that's
both
the end,
owned by
everyone.
TKO, so
Right.
Because Vince and the Undertaker are in attendance for this particular event. I don't know how much the Saudi government is paying them, but I'm sure the check will clear. Anyway, so Ngannou signs with the PFL, but it's only for MMA. He and Tyson Fury have been making noise for a while about some kind of a boxing match between the two of them.
Yeah, he showed up at the end of the Dillian Whyte fight, hit Tyson with a chair, then they had a ladder match, and now we're here we are.
I think they was also there for the one before that where Tyson Fury made assumptions about the size of Francis Ngannou's genitals. Remember that on air?
I vaguely remember that, yes.
Yeah, that was a thing.
Mm-hmm.
That was a thing.
Yeah.
So
these two have been pinching and squealing at each other.
And finally the Saudi government said, okay, we'll put up a purse that is 55 million. It's 50 million, give or take.
Mm-hmm.
Just the purse. Tyson gets 30. Francis Ngannou gets 20. That's the purse split. I'm sure each of them is getting a pretty decent site fee. They're being paid to show up. And look, man, I'm not a big fan of the government of Saudi Arabia, or pretty much any government in West Asia or the Middle East, if you prefer. But Francis Ngannou is going to make more for this glorified sparring match than he made his entire UFC run that includes winning the title and defending it.
Well, I have an agenda, and that's a great segue into that agenda. You and I quipped. You quipped, actually. I complained in a role reversal, unlike any other we've ever had. I complained.
The last Damn You Hollywood, I had to be the peppy one. So this was up there, though.
I bitched about not doing, or just saying I was above. I was, too hoity for the KSI / Logan Paul, not verse / KSI Logan Paul pay-per-view on DAZN that was about a week or so ago. And you, in your Halloween costume where you're wearing my face, said
I would absolutely cut your face off and wear it.
I understand, Joker. But Robert, you would absolutely cover this fight if you knew how much traffic it would generate. And you're not wrong. I'm a whore. However, for content. However, it did get me thinking, and I wanted to talk to you about this for TikTok purposes. Because something was said during the broadcast. And that's where I want to start with this. It was said on the broadcast. They had poor Roberto Duran out there. They had untied him from the chair where they were holding him hostage, and there was a gun slightly off camera. And they said, now say the line, monkey. And he said, boxing's at a real all-time low right now, or something to that effect. Boxing is down, I think was the quote. And Tyson Fury is leading us up. This Tyson Fury Francis Ngannou fight is the kind of fight boxing needs to get us back to prime time, to get us back to prominence, to bring boxing back up again. And I was, I love you,
Hands of Stone, but no.
Well, let me get there. We have 10 minutes to talk about this, at least. So then I was thinking about your comment about KSI and Logan Paul, and I was thinking about Jake Paul. I will get to that comment in a second, Facebook people. Just give me a second. And I was thinking about Jake Paul, the problem child. And, Jake Paul's currently going on a tour of destruction through ex-MMA fighters. And he's box office every time he fights, whether he fights me, my son, a ham sandwich, a horse. It doesn't matter who you throw in the ring with Jake Paul. Everyone goes and buys his fights. So back to the topic at hand, Francis Ngannou versus Tyson Fury. Yes, I understand from a purely intellectual level, from a pure integrity sports combat level, this is nonsense. This is a circus fight. But would you agree or disagree with the premise that this is exactly the kind of thing that boxing does need, so that you'll go, oh, and we've had this conversation before, but we're going to do it for TikTok now. You need the occasional nonsense fight so that while you're doing nonsense, you can go Shakur Stevens, Alexander Usyk, Tank Davis, and people go, oh, wait, there's actual fighters out there. I should tune into them too. Bud Crawford, all of that.
He just had
Guys,
Errol Spence and Bud Crawford not that long ago in a truly spectacular performance by Bud.
and well deserved, and I think well attended and well bought. But look what it took to get there. My point being, and this is where you can now weigh in. Would you agree or disagree that boxing does occasionally need something of this type? And while you're hemming and hawing, any minute now, pal. When is the fight going to start?
Hang on, let me check and see if the countdown clock is back up yet.
It
looks not yet on the broadcast.
It looks like we're about to start ring walks there. I think we're done with packages now. They just threw up a graphic of Tyson Fury and Francis Ngannou. I think we might actually be ready to start I think the pageantry is finally over. We might be able to start watching a boxing match.
Well, we still have the pageantry of walkouts and the national anthems and
the pre-fight pageantry. Go.
No, boxing doesn't need it in a vacuum. I'm going to say that given the current architecture of boxing, it's probably more necessary than it should be. Now, there's a problem with the Jake Pauls of the world when they box. Jake Paul's audience is super young. And believe it or not, like anyone who has paid for those fights, I don't think they've transitioned into boxing fans. I think generally what they've done is they come to watch Jake Paul engage in his nonsense. I shouldn't say that about Jake. He actually takes boxing seriously. Or, KSI engage in nonsense. Or watch Logan Paul and Dylan Dennis turn in something that both men should be embarrassed about and should be emblazoned on their tombstones. Just terrible, terrible stuff. But I don't think that necessarily translates to I like boxing now. Jake might be more making that transition. He's tried to fight legitimate fighters, even if they're not legitimate, like top tier boxers. But again, I do kind of question how much this is going to, generate interest in the sport of boxing overall. Ideally, you don't need it, but there's enough.
Ideally is the right word there.
Hang on. Let me
for a lot.
Let me just when I brought up Crawford and Spence, you mentioned it took us a while to get there. You're not wrong. The biggest hurdle in boxing is the architecture of boxing, and I don't know that there's any getting around that. So when boxing's actually operating the way it should, no, you don't need something like this.
But again, you're using words like would and should, and I'm operating from this because I disagree with you. Big shock. I think I'm gonna draw a reference here. Immediately lose all of our audience and you, but stay with me. WrestleMania couldn't just be Hulk Hogan versus Roddy Piper or Hulk Hogan versus Paul Orndorff. They had to drag it out.
You're not okay, but you're not talking about. Yeah, okay.
No,
hang on. So let me
go ahead.
Let me just go with your point there. Boxing doesn't need this. Even pro wrestling doesn't need it anymore. It did at that moment for a variety of reasons that are lost to the sands of time.
Robert, they just canceled show. Let's kind of have a fist fight about it. They just canceled Showtime Boxing. Showtime decided, Paramount, whoever
owns Showtime.
Yeah, whoever owns Showtime just decided no more Showtime Boxing. They don't cancel things because they're well attended or because they're well watched.
No, but they do cancel
HBO Boxing also gave up the ghost. What
5
a year or two ago?
5 or 8 years ago?
Yeah, like not that long. Like
pre-pandemic.
Okay, then over 3-4 years ago, HBO Boxing went away. There are now 2 major outlets. One is a paid subscription service. It's DAZN. And DAZN had to throw their model in the toilet in order to make money because their subscription service wasn't worth it. They had to start doing pay-per-view. And they had to create situations like Jake Paul, Canelo, Ryan Garcia of all people, because they needed pay-per-view attractions in order to keep this going. And then the only one left is ESPN, which the Walt Disney Company is now looking to sell.
Allegedly.
Allegedly. My point being that when you continue to play to the same audience, that audience eventually grows up, grows old, goes away. And if you don't bring in a new audience, there is no one left. New audiences come from circuses and spectacles.
Allow me to counter your point.
Sure.
If that were true and that would have led to a legitimate boom in boxing, then this isn't the fight that would have done it. It would have happened, 8 years ago with Floyd Mayweather and Conor McGregor.
But again, you have to also keep seeding, and there's long periods of time where they're not. Also, and to be fair, boxing is its own worst enemy when you have things like, the Triple G Canelo trilogy, which, pissed a lot of people off. Not, a friend of the show, Pat Mullen, being a prime example of this. Dude, the last commentary we did, just our friends just kind of hanging out, playing around, watching a boxing match, having fun doing a commentary, having fun with our audience. And by the end of it, we were like, fuck boxing. Because, the one before that me and Pat did, where Pat went on a rant that I put on TikTok about scoring. And then you and I did the Zerto fight, and we knew he won, but it was like 9-1, and both of us looked at our both of us looked at the camera, looked at the television, and we're like, get the fuck out of here. And here's the thing, like, we do this for fun, for content, for profit, but a lot of people don't have the time or the patience to continue to invest in a sport where they're constantly being frustrated and let down. What brings them back, what brings their friends back, what brings their family back is the occasional, and I mean like semi-regular occasional circus fight. Francis Ngannou versus Tyson Fury works two ways. One, in kind of a Protestants versus Catholics way, you've got MMA fans and boxing fans. Sure, we all like to see people hit each other, but there are people who only watch there are people who I know that like say they're MMA fans, but when they say, they go, I'm a UFC fan. Like, they don't know what the fuck the PFL is or Bellator. They are not watching, regional MMA. They're watching the UFC, and they're watching the UFC pay-per-views, by the way. They're not watching, the ESPN fights.
Shock of shocks, the monopoly has market share dominance. Who'd have thought?
Well, that's my point, though, is to try to get people to cross over to accept boxing when they're, and I will tell you this because I've lived through it, and I don't want to name names to talk about people in my personal life, but I know a handful of people who, like, I've sat and watched wrestling. Wrestling's awesome. A guy occasionally falls off a cage onto his head. And I like that. I like characters. I like the girls in the funny outfits and bringing a baby doll to the ring. Okay, great. We all know the appeal of wrestling now. I'll watch MMA with you because at least that's short and it seems fun. There's guys tackling each other, and there's quick knockouts and weird stuff happens, and it's kind of fun to watch when it's not boring as shit. And you set that same person down and they watch boxing and they go, oh my God, this is dreadful. This is the worst hour of my life. Please make it stop. And how do you get, and remember, these are the filthy casuals. How do you get them to watch anything? You create a happening. You create an event. You do that, for example, with Tyson Fury and Francis Ngannou.
Here's the other big sort of counterpoint to this.
Sure.
You don't mind?
This is what a friendly debate looks like.
You're taking a profoundly American point of view.
Okay, tell me about that.
Boxing in the UK is wildly different.
Yeah, sure. It's more accepted and people like it more,
Boxing.
They also like soccer around the world more than America does.
Yeah, and well, here's the other big audience is Mexicans.
Mm-hmm.
Dude, the Mexican audience will easily travel to Las Vegas to watch a big Mexican star. They turned out in droves for David Benavidez. They always make Canelo feel at home wherever he goes.
Sure.
Boxing is more than MMA and more than professional wrestling in a lot of respects, a genuinely worldwide phenomenon. And saying that it's down.
By the way, Francis Ngannou is finally walking to the ring.
We're getting there. And I'm not saying that the American audience doesn't matter. I'm saying it's a lot more fragmented. And especially, you mentioned, again, so why is Showtime cutting Showbox? because they're not satisfied with how it looks on a balance sheet, and because there's a weird sort of pseudo movement going on in the American culture right now, kind of against combat sports. It's not loud, but I think you'd be foolish to pretend it's not there. And that again, that rumbles
From the country that brings you football.
Hey, I'm not here to defend the obvious hypocrisy of, boy, we'll have all these guys getting serious concussions on a regular basis. But we're not sure we like blood sport. Well, you enjoy your hypocrisy there.
Let me jump in here with Francis Ngannou came to the ring in a robe. Already, I'm preferring him to Deontay Wilder, who comes to the ring in Iron Man's armor for some strange reason.
And that, ladies and gentlemen, is the happiest man in the world. He's getting a $20 million check for this.
To conclude this debate, because we actually need to start talking about the fight. You don't think the boxing needs this? I do. It's a matter of opinion at this point, because really neither, it's a matter of opinion and a matter of preference, because I know me and you. My argument really is this is what creates parties. This is what creates happenings. Happenings are what creates new things. You seem to think the rest of the world will carry boxing just fine. Can we please keep the circus out of it? I mean, we get it.
Here's my other issue that occasionally gets brought up with these. Tyson Fury wearing a wonderful crown, by the way.
Of course, he is. Tyson, I don't remember what Tyson Fury's actual nickname is, but he should be just called the Pageant.
He's the Gypsy King.
I don't care. He's the Pageant.
My other issue with, again, bring out the circus on occasion. I've never seen convincing data that the circus breeds long-term boxing fans.
No, it doesn't. I'll tell you that it doesn't. You have to keep seeding it. You have to keep doing it.
And hang on.
And the long lapses in between don't help.
I'm just saying, look, my only point is the people who are going to watch this, I doubt anyone watching this is going to buy the next big boxing event.
Maybe, like I said, Jake Paul gets a consistent audience.
Jake Paul has an independent audience from boxing fans.
I understand that. So again, but I think in general, we are talking about the same thing. We are talking about he's a circus performer. Granted, it's better than KSI, but it's still that sort of thing. All right.
Well, I'm going to hang on. The question. Hold on. The question is not is there room in the circus for a boxing match? Because
room in the boxing match for a circus.
Yes, and look, can Jake Paul take his circus and do a boxing thing with it? Like I've said this before, and it gets me heat on occasion. I respect Jake Paul's effort and commitment to boxing because he takes it seriously.
By the way, I'm not just complaining about like crossover things like Tyson Fury versus Francis Ngannou or nonsense fights like Jake Paul versus Nate Diaz.
Watch it, dude. Watching Diaz have to get dropped by Jake Paul made me.
I will give you another example of a nonsense circus fight that I think makes my argument better than your argument, and then you can, then you're gonna have to stop from screaming at me for the next hour. But Tyson Fury versus Roy Jones Jr. in the year of our Lord, what was it? 2022, 2021? It
was the one Mike Tyson.
Yes.
Okay. No. Let me stop you right there and do the following.
Mike Tyson was 100 during that fight. It was ridiculous.
Let me stop you right there. That fight converted no one to boxing and almost bankrupt Triller.
Fair. All right. Let's get into this fight. As Tyson Fury makes his run to the ring like the Ultimate Warrior in slow motion, Patrick Mullen says
he's not trying to blow himself up. Just get into the ring. Tyson Fury's smart.
I want to see Ngannou throw his jab to the body without level changing and eat an overhand right, which brings us to the actual pre-fight analysis of this.
Decent chance that might happen.
All right. What does Francis Ngannou, Robert Winfree of the Screaming Boy podcast, have to do to stay alive for 10 rounds and make this a happening, make this worth watching, make this worth paying $80 for?
Well, this is not worth $80. Let me just start right there.
You're impossible.
Dude. That's almost a full tank of gas.
Analysis. Just accept my premise and go with it.
Two things I think Ngannou has to do.
Mm-hmm.
One, he has to close distance. He has to be willing to clinch and wrestle. Tyson Fury wore out Deontay Wilder by being the bigger, stronger guy in the clinch, wearing out his arms and tiring him out. That works against boxers. Francis Ngannou's been doing that for years because he's had to actually wrestle. That's not the same, and Fury won't have that same advantage there. Ngannou needs to try and invoke a little bit of that. Ngannou has a ton of power, but he actually can't try to box with Fury. He needs this to be ugly. He needs to try and lure Fury into a brawl, because in a brawl, he can be hit, and Ngannou, we don't know how great his power is in boxing gloves. In MMA gloves, that guy has the dim mock. He touches you and you die.
I want to bring to your attention something the great sage of combat sports of our age, Conor McGregor,
Let's
said.
not talk about the roided up little leprechaun, please.
Conor McGregor was asked for his pre-fight analysis that I'd like you to comment on, if you please.
All right.
And he said, well, in my fight against Floyd Mayweather,
immediately has to make it all about himself.
Speaking of crossover circuses.
Pointless crossovers that achieve nothing but fleecing the sheep.
He said, I ran across the ring and gave Floyd the business.
That is not what happened. Conor McGregor put down the cocaine.
So
you want my response to what Conor said? Stop snorting coke.
Okay. So what Conor said was, I ran across the ring and I
tried to push and Floyd, who did not train for that fight, by the way. Floyd went, okay, I know you can't do this. You can't hit me. You can't hurt me. I don't care if you take a round or two. You're going to gas and I'm going to beat the crap out of you.
Look, I remember that fight. And it was funny because it was not that long after Mayweather Pacquiao, which I've gone back and listened to our commentaries about those, the pre-fight and post-fight analysis that we did. And we talked about how that was a technical boxer's boxing match and pissed everybody else off because they all thought it was boring. I don't want to talk about it. My point is that the Floyd Mayweather who fought Manny Pacquiao was not the Floyd Mayweather who showed up to fight Conor McGregor.
No. People in Floyd's camp have talked about how little he trained for that.
Yeah,
he did not need to actually train. No, he still beat the crap out of Conor.
No, he stood in front of Conor McGregor, and Conor McGregor threw everything but the kitchen sink at him, and Floyd Mayweather laughed and then beat him. I remember that fight. But the point of me bringing it up was not to tweak on your penis. It was, however, to get at this particular point that Conor made. Will it benefit Francis Ngannou to follow in Conor McGregor's footsteps and rush across the ring and get in Tyson Fury's face and throw everything he has at him in the first few rounds?
That's all he can do. Like Conor, my other gripe with what Conor said, like, this was some great strategic decision I made. Bitch, you couldn't do anything else. What are you going to do? You're going to outbox Floyd Mayweather, you hack? I never boxed around in my life. I'm going to go out there and fight the greatest boxer of his generation, and I'll take a decision. No, you're not. And that's my frustration with Conor. As far as Francis goes, like, he can't outbox Tyson Fury.
We knew that already.
You know how many people on this planet in the heavyweight division can outbox Tyson Fury? You got maybe one.
Yes, and his name is Alexander Usyk.
That's true, and they've currently signed that fight for December. And as long as
is that confirmed? Is that because I've heard December 23rd or January thrown out? Sites I don't trust, but Jason Teasley would throw into our chat have said it's December 23rd. Is that confirmed by an actual news site?
Or pretty much. I think there's some stuff they're waiting on for this to get done.
Yes, they're waiting to make sure Tyson Fury doesn't rip an Achilles tendon walking out of the ring as he dances around Francis Ngannou's corpse.
Again, there's still some stuff they want to double check and make sure it'll happen. But yeah, almost part of the deal for this fight getting made was Usyk and Fury as well. But I think they're both going to take place in Saudi.
Yes, that is correct.
So that's also why they didn't announce Usyk and Fury until as late as they did, relatively speaking, because the Saudis had control over when the news was released.
All right, so both fighters have actually entered the ring now.
We've had the national anthems. We saw fat Chuck Liddell in the crowd. It was a good time.
All right, we've got Bruce Buffer, Michael Buffer. We got Michael Buffer in the ring.
No, the UFC will not lend out Bruce Buffer for this. The UFC is still pissy at Francis for doing this.
Michael Buffer is here, and he is now doing ring entrances, ring announcements. So we might actually start to see a fight sometime in the year of our Lord 2023.
Well, to the extent that this counts, and we're pretty sure this is an exhibition.
Technically not. Technically a sanctioned pro bout, 10 rounds for and I love this. And please, Robert Winfree, let me pull up your shirt so I can tweak your nipple on this one.
I would, but we'd get thrown off Twitch.
The need to constantly create new belts in boxing. Reason number 37 why this is constantly losing fans. They invented a belt for this. I mean, granted, it's a ceremonial belt, like they kind of did with Canelo. It's like, here, you're now the champion of Mexico. It meant nothing, but
you're the champion of winning this fight in Saudi Arabia on this date.
Yeah. So, like, here's a belt for it.
Like you said, it's purely ceremonial. It doesn't matter. Everyone knows it doesn't matter. There are 4 belts that matter, 5 technically if you want to count the ring or the lineal one. That's it.
They're not actual belts.
I count the lineal title because we have the lineal heavyweight champion of MMA.
Yeah, but it doesn't have a belt to it.
It should. You know what? I would genuinely like if we got a lineal belt. And
in the actual, I remember Pat and I talked about this in our History of Boxing podcast in our archive. For those of you listening now, and you're like, "Hey, we like the cut of your jib." You talk about any of the boxing? Yes. Pat Mullen and I did an entire podcast series on the history of boxing from like Jack Johnson all the way to Tyson Fury. And I think one of those things was we actually could trace the history of the lineal championship, and it is attached to at least one of the 2 belts, either the WBA or the WBC, and I think it's the WBC.
It is attached to Tyson Fury at the moment.
Yes, who is the WBC champion, of which this fight is not being contested for.
Tyson Fury's belt out on the line.
And in a rare stroke of, I don't know, genius, for lack of a better word, the WBC actually did not strip him of the title, because I'd have thrown furniture if they had.
They will have their interim champion, but again, if everyone knew that part of the deal was this gets us to Fury and Usyk, and this is just a $30 million check for a glorified sparring match for Tyson Fury, that is kind of what I think it is, by the way.
Dear Robert Winfree, my love, why not consider this to be a marketing event instead of everything you just said? It's a marketing event for the big fight at the end of the year.
Have you seen one poster for Usyk and Fury?
Well, they got to get through this fight first. But I feel.
You know what Tyson Fury said about Usyk in the build-up to this fight?
I'm sure something insulting.
He doesn't matter. I don't think about him. Everything I'm doing is focused on Francis Ngannou. After that, we'll see. I might retire or I might go fight the little goblin.
Okay. First of all, Tyson Fury announces retirement more often than Terry Funk does.
He's up there.
Okay. It's every other fucking day. He's like, I'm thinking about retiring.
I'm just saying.
I think he said he was going to retire in the middle of the Dillian Whyte fight.
He might. Look, my point is, if you want to argue this is a marketing event, it's a piss poor one.
And Patrick Mullen weighing in with the comment of the night so far that doesn't involve the C word or something other than Pat's famous for. I see no charcuterie boards. It's not a marketing event.
He is
not that
wrong.
kind of marketing, you tart.
He's not wrong though.
Oh my god. Where's Daniel Lasby when I hit him? Oh my god, we actually have fighters in the middle of the ring. Ladies and gentlemen, if you're watching on Facebook or you're watching on where are people watching? For those of you watching on our W2M Net Facebook page, History of Boxing, Radulich and Broadcasting Facebook pages, Twitch, and the few of you watching on YouTube, first of all, we love you. Thank you. We are underway. Round 1, ready to start.
Got a little bit behind yours. Let me see if I can catch it up.
We are tightly focused here on Tyson Fury, at least we were, as he was bouncing and jiggling and moving about. By the way, and I don't want to even do a big long thing because we actually have to call the fight, but one of the other pre-fight analysis things, and I think that even Tyson Fury talked about this, there's Usyk in the crowd.
Paid a lot of money to be there.
Okay, Tyson Fury comes roaring across the ring and just starts throwing freaking haymakers at Francis Ngannou.
Dude, Francis is not good on the back foot. That's a general truism of his MMA career. So if Fury wants to get him backing up right away, that's not a bad idea.
So Fury scored one to the face as Francis Ngannou tried to go for the big belly, which Tyson Fury advised him not to do because fat guys win fights. That's a quote.
Body work against Fury is a good idea as a general rule. I'm not sure I would do that if I'm Francis. Right. Francis not moving his head very well.
Yeah, no. Francis
we already saw it. Pat already got his win. He tried to throw the jab to the body, didn't really level change appropriately, and ate a 1-2.
Francis Ngannou knocked Fury back into the ropes, really didn't follow up.
Oh,
And yeah,
he didn't hit him. That was shoulder rolled, but
pushed him back. Is what I'm saying. And
yeah.
To your point about his head not moving, yeah, he's a statue in there.
I mean, when you got traps that size, I get that it's difficult, but first world problems there, buddy.
For God's sakes, Ngannou, use your hips. You've been training with Mike Tyson, the king of hip movement.
Jeez, come on, ref.
All right, so Tyson Fury using that herky-jerky body movement, looking for distance, working the jab, adjusting his shorts. Doing what he normally does,
and dude, Ngannou already almost flat on his feet. Man, the boxing pace. When you've seen superbly conditioned MMA fighters do some boxing stuff and get tired, it's not because they're not in good condition. It's just the rhythm and the timing and whatnot that you have to use when you box versus when you take boxers and throw them in there for a 5-minute round. Suddenly they're huffing and puffing too. Like it's just what you're conditioned for.
Right. I mean, one of the drills you do is, you work a heavy bag for 3 minutes straight. And you don't stop punching. There's a reason for that. Again, both of these guys trying to figure out distance, taking each other's measure. Not a whole lot of landed punches. Not a whole lot,
but as a general rule, again, Fury kind of getting the better of things. And Ngannou's guard is very weird. When he actually gets moving, it's a little bit better. But anytime they kind of freeze in front of each other, that left hand of his goes real low, and he is not set to shoulder roll.
I think Ngannou might have actually landed a punch to the body. So don't tell anyone.
I think he did jab the body successfully at one point. And then there's a little bit of a right to the body.
Okay, so Ngannou very much depending on a one-punch knockout right now.
Oh, that's all he ever had. Nice one from Fury.
He is willing to throw something low to try to get Tyson Fury to drop his hands and end this quickly. So he's not quite doing the Conor McGregor special, but he is absolutely looking to go, hey, I'm known for the one-punch knockout. Let me knock this guy out in one punch.
Now, Conor fought at an unsustainable pace, and Floyd kind of made him do that. For whatever else you want to say about Ngannou, at the moment, he's not fighting at a pace that will gas him out, as far as I can see, at least. Pretty easy round for Fury there in the beginning. Fury did land a pretty good little 1-2 as the last relevant blow of the round. So Fury just kind of coasting, and Ngannou trying not to completely blow himself up yet.
Tyson Fury said in the 9 hours of pre-fight nonsense that somebody said, you're just going to carry Ngannou to 10 rounds, to make this a spectacle. And he was like, nope, I'm going to try to end this as soon as possible.
I don't think he's going to try and end it as soon as possible, but I don't think he wants to be here for 10 rounds either.
No. I think look, the bigger payday is Usyk.
Well, that depends on what the Saudis are offering, but
well, look, it's the first time in 20 years we'll have a 4-belt unification.
It's the first ever 4-belt champion.
Right. So my point
at heavyweight, at least.
So my point being that he knows that he has to get through this, and I think, I think there's something in the back of his mind about not getting injured. And the more time he's in there, the more opportunities to not get injured there will be.
You and I didn't do an official prediction. I imagine we're both going Fury.
Yeah. No, I don't give Francis Ngannou a chance at this.
My question would then be decision, or does he end this? And if so, what round?
What was it? Dillian Whyte went out in the 7th?
I think it was 7, yeah.
It was Dillian Whyte was the 6th round. Oh, right, that's right. I forgot. He also fought Derek Chisora and PKO'd him in 10 rounds.
Oh, that was the one that didn't matter. That just kind of annoyed everyone.
Yeah, that was the one where everyone.
It was like their third fight, and he'd won the other 2.
Honestly, the sound of eyes rolling was deafening on that when it was announced. I didn't even watch it. I watched everything. But I'm gonna go with 6th or 7th round. This is over.
My hunch is 7-9.
Okay.
And Ngannou pretty flagrantly breaking the rules there by holding and hitting, but the referee says nothing.
God, you should have seen the fight before this.
I kind of did. Boy, Ngannou really he's trying that left uppercut, and it's gonna get him in trouble. Oh, it goes southpaw, dude. That might work against some boxers, but Fury doesn't mind switching.
So here's the other thing about Fury. Fury's not getting hit a lot by Francis Ngannou, and he's not necessarily throwing a lot of power punches, but he's scoring more, which means he's winning rounds. I mean,
he's got some kind of a mark on his forehead.
Yeah, as I was saying that, I noticed it, but it doesn't really change what I said.
I don't think it's much of anything at the moment.
Nearly as much as Tyson Fury is hitting him, and that's the thing is Tyson Fury isn't really throwing any power. And here we go for a single leg takedown.
Remember, first guy to shoot for the double in boxing is losing.
Well,
they both have gone southpaw. They did briefly there.
So Tyson Fury deciding that what he normally likes to do in the later rounds, he's going to start doing now, which is ugly the fuck out of this fight.
Yeah. Oh, that wasn't a single leg, Mark. He's just trying to clinch. Again, this is actually something that I think can work in Ngannou's favor.
I think now they're pommeling. Now Tyson Fury going for underhooks.
Well, Fury's actually a good wrestler for boxing.
Yeah.
And
I'm half joking, but
I'm not
he's absolutely doing what Tyson Fury does best, which is making you wear all 500 pounds of him.
I'm not joking when I say he's a good boxer. He's a good wrestler. He's a good wrestler for boxing.
Right.
That's a thing. It's a really good thing. Again, there's specific rules you have to abide by when you wrestle in boxing versus wrestling in wrestling. Mm-hmm. But it's a valuable skill to have. Errol Spence Jr. is a tremendous wrestler. If you look at what he does in the clinch and what he does in close, a lot of it is wrestling based in terms of how he manipulates your guard, pulls stuff out of the way, etc. It's a great skill. And
what was the pay-per-view buy numbers for Spence versus Crawford?
I don't know. I'd have to look it up.
Because I want to compare it to this when we're all said and done. I mean, not tonight, but when the numbers come in, we need to come back on that.
But again, a couple of things here. One, the wrestling, I don't think it's going to tire Ngannou out the same way it would quickly other boxers, because Ngannou's used to that. He's done wrestling drills. He's done a lot of grappling, that kind of thing. Mm. So where this would very quickly tire out and wear down,
and did,
Deontay Wilder,
it's
not going to be as successful in the same time frame against Ngannou. Ngannou's more used to this. Ngannou also, again, very physically strong and a very big man himself. There is something to be said, though, for the sheer size of Tyson Fury and some of the stuff you do to mitigate.
That's a lot of man to move around. It's not easy.
There's also something to be said for the weapons at your disposal when you're trying to deal with recovering from wrestling in MMA versus boxing. You can't complete a takedown here. You can't, hang out on the fence in the clinch for a long period of time.
Big left there from Francis Ngannou.
He's not having
in there.
A nice little come up off the second jab there. He's not having no success. A couple of things here. Pat weighing in, help being our offsite producer. Crawford Spence did roughly 700,000 buys. Watch this Darn good event,
and I will come back to that. Pat also saying ESPN's coverage gave Ngannou round 2. Go. What the hell?
Yeah, no.
And our friends here on Facebook sending us well wishes, saying hello, good morning, good night, and we say hello to you. Thank you for joining us.
So Fury's starting to switch stance a little bit. This is something we see a lot more in MMA is switch stancing. It's a lot rarer in boxing. Mm-hmm. It would open up more things if, and again, if you're not talking about two guys who are more used to switching. Ngannou's done a lot of training southpaw during this camp.
Okay, Francis Ngannou needs to kind of watch Tyson Fury adjust his shorts and hit him then, because he keeps doing it.
Dude, timing for stuff like that is real.
I wasn't joking, because I know I've referenced it before. I think it was a PBC fight where they had this enormous fat ass fighting, and his shorts literally fell down. The ref had to hoist them up for him. We're getting to that point here with Tyson Fury.
I think I remember that one.
It was an embarrassment.
But we're starting to see a little bit of, again, Francis's comfort in the
clinch. Shit! And down goes Tyson Fury. Francis Ngannou with just an MMA left there, just hauled back and just threw a roadhouse at him.
Well, again, man, that power from Francis is nothing to play around with.
No, and Tyson Fury, tougher than shoe leather, gets right back up again.
Oh,
He didn't stop it, but
no, and in fairness to that knockdown, I'm not saying it's weak. It was a legitimate knockdown, but you can see Tyson Fury in the immediate aftermath going, yeah, it was, he's referencing where he hit him. It was a good shot. It was well timed.
All right. And so that's the end of round 3, and a little congratulatory pat on the boob from Tyson Fury too.
We're pretty clearly
seeing his life flash before his eyes, like, oh no, Tyson, don't lose. Well, I mean, I guess it doesn't matter, but
no, if he loses, it doesn't matter. But so again, Ngannou's power is nothing to
yeah, he's on the ear. I mean, it was a good shot.
It was well timed. It landed well. Good punch.
Let me watch it again. Hang on. Okay, yeah, it was the left hook that got him right at the ear. I mean, it doesn't. It was a good punch.
It was, and I think the unfortunate thing for Ngannou is if you didn't put him really down and really out with that, it's just going to make him go, okay, I'm not going to play around with you anymore. I don't mean that he's taken everything before this lightly, but
in 50 words or less, because now Francis Ngannou has to, because this is boxing, that's the kind of thing where he would have jumped on Tyson and they'd have gone to the ground. He can't do that here, so he can't necessarily rest on his laurels with those kinds of punches.
Yeah, there's an art to following up with hard punches in boxing that is different from, again, MMA. And I don't know how much experience and time Ngannou was able to get in that, dealing with that. Right. But, dropping your opponent's also a good way to sort of revitalize your gas tank. You feel better about things.
Sure. That's great. Great way to get that adrenaline up. And hey, he won the round. So he's winning this fight currently.
We're probably 28-28.
Well, I'm going on the goofy ESPN round where, 28-28 is about right.
That's more what I think.
Yeah, because he's just round, because unless he loses now, he just won round 4 and they gave him round 2, which means 3-1 and went to Tyson Fury. Pat on the board here says, we all said Fury has the propensity to fight stupid like he did in the Wilder rubber match.
True.
And get clipped. And I think Ngannou hits harder than Wilder.
Probably.
I don't know about that. I wouldn't say it would be. I would be hard pressed to say one of them hits harder than the other. I think they hit about the same.
I would need to either see Wilder punch in MMA gloves or get a bigger look at Ngannou in boxing gloves, but it would not shock me if Francis hits harder. I have seen that man.
And we're talking about a negligible impact.
And Fury this round making it ugly, getting in close, working the body.
Yeah, no, and Ngannou saw blood in the water. He's really going after Fury now. And Fury is doing what Fury does best, fighting in the clinch. Oh, look at that. See, they clinched. He kind of got in a late shot, and you see Ngannou take a deep breath.
Yeah, Ngannou, again, this would have worked faster on other boxers. Ngannou pretty good about getting out of the clinch. You see him going to the double collar tie. Right. He's doing that not because he can do anything effective from there, but because it creates a great frame, gives you a little head control, and lets you spin away when the other guy tries to clinch you.
I'm not loving Ngannou's sort of like face and body movement. Like, he's seeming a little gassed.
Yeah, he's not having a great time at the moment. Again, the pacing and the way you have to fight is just different. And there's some of that you only get after a lot of experience. To say nothing of the weight. Like, not only are your gloves heavier in boxing, but the more you sweat, it gets in there. They get wet. They get heavier than the original.
Now you're throwing concrete blocks.
Yeah, and Fury's starting to land that right hand more reliably.
I doesn't want to get hit like that by Ngannou again.
No, he does not. And
he can't afford to keep dropping his hands and letting Ngannou have a free shot at him.
That not the best thing. He's got to stay smart about it.
Right. And that was what Pat was saying about, Tyson Fury, all credit to the world heavyweight champion, is not Floyd Mayweather. Floyd
No.
Mayweather could afford to fight stupid. Tyson Fury can't, not with a guy who can knock out a horse like Francis Ngannou.
Yeah, between rounds, another round for Fury.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, no,
Ngannou
that was
not looking
it was
great.
round 4.
between rounds.
That round went to Ngannou.
What? No, we just ended the 4th.
Right, and he knocked him down in the beginning of the 4th, didn't he?
No, he didn't.
Oh, that's right. Sorry, the 3rd. You're right. Sorry, lost track for a moment. Hey, welcome to the Radulich Broadcasting Network. Hope you're enjoying our boxing coverage. Hey, a quick thing about that. So we also did an entire series on the 4 kings of boxing. You saw the graphic in the opening. It was like a multi-part episode, took almost 2 years to do, of Marvin Hagler, Thomas Hearns, Roberto Duran, who once knocked out a horse, and Sugar Ray Leonard. That is also
stole more fights from those people than should be allowable by law.
And that is also in our archive. You can check that out. All right, we're back. We are in round 5 of 10. So we're just at the halfway mark here. We're going back to Roadhouse. Total punches thrown to his 26%. And I missed the other part of the graphic there.
Hang on, my feed's a little behind yours. I'm sure it'll come up in a second.
Mm-hmm. All right, so Tyson Fury now working that jab.
Yeah,
trying to put some bounce in his step, which is good.
Yeah, Ngannou's going to have, again, like the first 20 to 30 seconds of the round, but he's starting to fade. And Fury's starting to hook off the jab a little bit.
So Pat, weighing in with the ESPN commentary, said ESPN said Fury in trouble on the 4th off the Francis right hand. They have it 3-1 with extra points for Francis. So currently, according to ESPN, which is really all that matters, not us two jabronis, currently winning the fight on the cards.
Hang on. The 3 people scoring ringside are the ones who matter, not the broadcast.
True. Just ask the people at the zone.
That's true. Dude, Fury's starting to get a little annoyed by this.
Yeah. Well, he can say all he wants. He wasn't looking past Francis Ngannou, but he was totally looking past Francis Ngannou. And now he's like, shit, I can't.
Well, again, we're starting to see Fury, both Fury and Ngannou doing a little bit of the stance switching. Ngannou southpaw at the moment. Fury, he's getting the body jabs in there, and they're doing some work for him.
If you go back to when they were trying to introduce Tyson Fury to the American audiences with his fights on ESPN against the German guy, and I forget what the other one was. They're both up in our archive. We covered both of those fights here on the Radulich Broadcasting Network. If you'll remember correctly, he really put his weight on those opponents.
Yeah.
Like those were not fun fights to watch because he fought a very Tyson Fury fight. And then in at least one of the fights with Deontay Wilder, he did very much the same thing. He kept putting his weight on Deontay Wilder. He was fighting in the clinch. He was all over the place, all herky-jerky, as Pat would say. He's not really doing a lot of that here. He kind of starts to, and then he stops. He
tries, but again, it's easier for him to out-wrestle in the clinch some of those jamokes who don't know how to do that. Ngannou knows how to wrestle. That complicates some of what he likes to do. It still drains you.
Yeah.
But it's not going to have the exact same effect on the exact same timeline. And that's a little bit what I think is throwing him off there. I generally think he's winning these rounds. He's a bit more active, and nice right. And then Ngannou, bless him, he's trying to counter, but he's fallen short.
Also, Francis Ngannou keeping his hands low. Again,
shoulders are getting tired on him.
But I think also he's looking for, again, an opportunity, a wide open opportunity to throw an MMA style like looping right hand, because he feels like that's what's going to put Tyson Fury on his ass again. In other words, he got away with it once. He threw a halfway decent hook. It landed, and he's like, "Well, that's all I want to do now for the rest of the fight." And he's not really boxing anymore. He's just kind of looking for the garage door to open and for that shot to be there. And he's going to end up giving away the fight doing that. He's not far enough ahead for that to really work.
Yeah, it's one of the big problems with a lot of MMA guys when they move into boxing. They're not used to having to set up their punches the same way they need to in boxing versus MMA. There's a bunch of other stuff you can do. And bless MMA, I happen to, love the way they fight. But when your weapons are more limited and your setups have to be better, And
they're less
Fury's,
dependent on combinations the way boxing is entirely dependent on them
yes.
in MMA. And Pat here, the middleweight is likely to abuse this version of Tyson Fury. That's funny. He's referring, of course, to Alexander Usyk. A favorite of the Radulich Broadcasting Network now that Triple G has gone back to his home planet.
Gone back to his home country, not his home planet.
Whatever. Concrete McGee. Hi, I'm Mark. Have we met?
And look, we all know our real favorite is Naoya Inoue, but Mark refuses to acknowledge him because he's Japanese.
That's right. They're not real people. People are not going to get that was a joke, and that's a running gag here. A lot of just kind of staring and looking at each other now.
Tyson's fainting game is really befuddling Ngannou in a lot of ways. Mm-hmm. I can see Ngannou's head right in his brain right now. He's like, man, I really wish I could kick this guy's skinny legs. But Fury landing the right hand. Fury really starting to find the holes in his defense. Fury more conditioned for this pace and this distance.
Fury doing a great job of leaving his head open. And if here's the problem. He's leaving his head open in situations where Francis Ngannou doesn't have a clear shot at him, which is fine, I guess.
Yeah, like why are you?
But that's only going to work. That's only going to work so much, and then eventually he's going to figure it out. He's going to get nailed.
It's only going to work as long as he's out of range, and that's one of the things. Like your hands are up to stop you getting hit. If the other guy can't hit you no matter what, they don't need to be up.
ESPN gives Fury round 5. They said Francis looks very slow now, and Fury can't miss the 1-2s.
Pretty much. For the record, I disagree with ESPN giving him the 4th, but the only round I've given to
dude. So
Francis the 2nd.
Tyson Fury kind of did one of these, and for you audiences, he kind of lifted his shoulder up and then punched down and then stumbled backwards. Not a great look for the world heavyweight champion.
Again, he's getting a bit. He rattled Ngannou with that right hand. He stumbled backwards. I just got to that sequence, but it was after he landed a punch.
I hear you. That's not great footwork then, now is it?
Great footwork is
if Jake Paul did that, you'd be falling out of your chair laughing. Come on.
No, I wouldn't actually.
So anyway.
It's as a minor note, Francis Ngannou's chin, man. If you're really into looking at like how guys react when they get hurt, you can see a few of the times he's been bothered, but he's never he's eaten some pretty hard shots and he's not looked close to going down.
I mean, his face looks, granted, his face looks unmarked. I'll just leave it at that. He's not looking like he's not cut up.
There's some swelling around his right eye. Not a lot, but a little bit.
Patrick weighing in. Fury's body dimensions make everything he does look awkward. He's almost 7 feet tall, but all torso, which makes the balance and movement more difficult.
True.
I hear you, but he's a trained boxer at the highest level that you can be in this sport. Don't stumble throwing a basic punch. It's not, I don't feel like I'm saying something that's controversial.
I'm not going to kill him for that.
Okay. Folks, if you're enjoying our commentary, and even if you're not, and you want to see what other garbage we've done, go back in the archives. We have covered any number of fights going back years now, some of which are audio only. We've done most of the Canelo fights. We've done some Shakur Stevenson. We've done the Deontay Wilder, Tyson Fury trilogy. Most recently, we did the Navarrete fight. We did the Zerdo fight on DAZN. Last year, me and Stuart did the heaviest heavyweight match ever. It was Thor versus Bjorn or something like that. That was a fun one. I just went back and listened to it again. And then, of course, we did the Dillian Whyte fight. So check out all of our boxing alternative commentaries. We've got some wrestling alternative commentaries in there as well, and some MMA. Back when we were doing this a little bit more regularly. All right, big punch there from Francis Ngannou. That one looks like it annoyed Tyson Fury.
Yeah, he's about at the end of his gas tank, is Ngannou. His effective gas tank. I shouldn't say his total. He's not going to collapse. But he is about at the end of where he can be truly effective. And that means you kind of got to go more for it. But yeah, that was.
So we're in round 7 of 10, and one might be telling Francis Ngannou you've got a comfortable enough lead, but I still think Francis Ngannou really needs to end this sooner than later, because here's where Tyson Fury tends to come alive, start boxing, and make life difficult for his opponents. This the latter half of the fight.
Yeah, he's usually got a read on you by now, and is really comfortable with your timing.
And other than Alexander Usyk, one of the smartest fighters in terms of boxing intelligence there is in the sport today, Tyson Fury. Look at that. Some uppercuts there in the clinch from Francis Ngannou. And Tyson Fury just shrugged him off.
You know, the way this has gone, I'm just going to throw this out there as a possibility. They might give this to Francis because boxing is boxing.
All right. And again, the first guy to shoot for a double.
Yeah, that's not really a big winning strategy for Fury in this context because Ngannou's more used to it.
Maybe Roman Reigns will come in and hit Francis Ngannou with a chair.
Let's not.
You're only saying that because there's a part of you that knows I might possibly be right.
He's not gonna make a run in. He's got a thing to do.
You're right. Roman Reigns isn't there. It's the Undertaker. The lights are gonna go off.
Look, Roman's gonna be in Saudi next Saturday for Crown Jewel because sweet, sweet Saudi blood money. He's not doing a run in to mess with this.
Okay. Let's get back to boxing before we annoy somebody. By the way, Pat wants, I'm not going to put it on screen, but Pat wants to ask how similar is this to watching Sam Peters versus Vladimir Klitschko?
I don't know.
Good commentary. All right. Francis Ngannou throwing a cross, trying to hit something, make something happen for himself. Not particularly effective.
He's good for like 2 punches around that land and seem to be kind of decent blows. And that's kind of it.
Let's put it this way. If Francis Ngannou throws 100 punches but hit you with 2 of them, those 2 punches are going to suck for you.
They really are. Like, he can get away with that sort of general math in ways others can't, but...
So, if you're wondering, why did they call this the history of boxing? Because there's actually a history of boxing series here on the Radulich Broadcasting Network. Myself and Pat Mullen go back and look at various fights over the decades. We did the Dick Punch heard around the world, Riddick Bowe, and what's his nuts? He doesn't have any anymore. We did the quadrilogy of Manny Pacquiao, Juan Marquez fights. We looked at Luis Castillo. We've done a bunch. They're all in the archive. We do a little bit of history. We talk about the fights and what they mean to boxing. So give that a look-see. Pat, very, very good with the history of boxing. All right, we are in round 8. 31% to 28%, Fury and Ngannou in total punches through 7 rounds. Nailed it.
Yeah, I'm not surprised that the percentage is that close. Ngannou, Fury's throwing a lot more, so it stands to reason it would be closer.
All right, ESPN scored round 7 for Ngannou. So again,
I can see it.
Assuming the ESPN broadcast has this right, that's got to be more for, including the knockdown, more points for Ngannou than Tyson Fury. Pat has it 57-56. They have it for Fury right now 67-50. Take 2. ESPN has it for Fury 57-56.
That's not what I have. Again, I've given Ngannou 2 rounds at this point. I agree he won the 7th. But I don't think I would not have given him the 2nd. I didn't give him the 4th.
What do you have it for Francis?
What?
What's your score for Francis?
It's not for Francis.
Oh, you have it for Fury?
Yes.
Okay.
I just don't agree with how narrow some of that is on ESPN.
Fair enough.
Again, I didn't give Ngannou the 2nd. I didn't give him the 4th. So I give him the 7th.
All right. So Francis Ngannou currently clubbing on Tyson Fury. Tyson Fury threw an uppercut, hoping it was going to do some big damage. It did not. Francis Ngannou still coming forward, still throwing Roadhouse.
Yeah, Ngannou
currently holding his head and punching him in the side of the head because he just watched the Wardley fight. Francis Ngannou teeing off on Tyson Fury. Yikes.
He's trying.
At the moment, Tyson Fury just giving him his head to hit. And God bless him, Francis Ngannou walking forward like a horror movie slasher zombie creature, just walloping on Tyson Fury.
He's not landing as clean as you might think. I'm not saying he's
I
not
said
landing.
walloping. I didn't say landing clean.
Okay. Yeah.
Francis Ngannou currently fighting like an angry wife hitting her husband in the kitchen.
That's fairly accurate.
I'm not saying he's doing a lot of damage. I'm just saying he's making a lot of contact. The ref getting in between these two guys, like, hey, fight clean.
Yeah, the ref has done a very poor job. Let's just say that plainly.
Tyson Fury trying to turn things around for himself and continually finding himself off balance, which was my complaint earlier, and everyone yelled at me. Tyson Fury is now looking like he does not want to be here anymore.
Is there somebody with a vuvuzela in the crowd or something?
What is a vuvuzela?
That weird horn.
Oh. I don't know. And I almost made a racist joke, so stop setting me up. We have a decent sized audience here. I want to be nice. Okay.
Round 8 goes to Ngannou.
Sure Dog, I think Pat says, has Ngannou right now at only a plus 185, which is quite far down from where he was.
Yeah, Fury.
Look at that. Left hand from Ngannou, hits him squaw on the jaw. That one with a shot to the back of the head, but nothing you can do about that. That's where Tyson Fury put his head as the fist was coming in. I mean, look, I don't think Francis Ngannou is purposely trying to hit him in the back of the head, and I'm not saying he is a poorly trained boxer. I'm not saying he's a poorly trained boxer. It's a lot of Tyson Fury's head movement. Here's what I will say: getting hit in the back of the head sucks.
That's
and
true.
It's going to change, and it's going to change how you fight if it happens enough, especially with somebody who hits us hard, even if it's an errant hit, or a glancing blow, as Francis Ngannou.
Yeah, I think one of the big revelations of this fight, if there is one to be had, Ngannou's head is like made of concrete.
It certainly moves like it.
Well, no, I mean, look at some of the blows he's taken, and he has just almost no-sold them in some respects.
Yeah. Again, I think Tyson Fury was like, well, look what I did to Deontay Wilder, and he's a trained boxer and, 12 feet tall. Like, I guess I don't think he took Ngannou seriously, and Francis Ngannou, tougher than shoe leather.
If you grow up working in the sand mines of Cameroon and then walk across the desert,
you have one or two calluses.
Get dropped back off in the desert 3 times for trying to cross the border illegally into France, finally get across into France, live in a car in a parking garage while you're trying to get training.
I now want to have a coffee and cigarettes moment between Francis Ngannou and Deontay Wilder. As Deontay Wilder tries to show his street cred to Francis Ngannou, and Francis Ngannou just says all of that. Kind of the way, like Kane at the therapy session. Just like, no, sir. No, little prince. All right, back to the fight before we annoy someone. Francis Ngannou kind of stalking Tyson Fury. His stance, the way he's carrying his shoulders has not changed in 9 rounds.
Not really.
Francis Ngannou, for better or for worse, is fighting the same fight in round 9 as he fought in round 1. And I say that because every time we do one of these, somebody falls apart by the end of round 10.
Usually.
And it ain't Francis Ngannou tonight.
Not yet.
ESPN has Ngannou 76-75 through 8, by the way.
Sure. Look, the way this is gone, those scorecards are probably could be all over the place.
Split draw. I'm calling it now.
It's a work.
100 to 90 Canelo.
Unless somebody gets a finish in the next round, yeah.
I'm telling you, the lights are going to go out.
Well, if you do the split jab, you can do the rematch.
You mean the split draw?
Whatever. They're splitting jabs as I'm talking, so give me a break here.
Nope. Not even a little bit.
Yeah, if you do the split draw or the majority
All right,
draw.
this was going up on screen and it stays up until we're done here. I agree with both of you. Split draw and it's a work. Thanks, Pat. Everything is a work. It's the Saudi Arabia screw job, everyone.
Well, you might be more right than you know.
Oh my God, I've just had a vision of Vince McMahon running to the ring yelling, ring the bell, ring the bell.
Vince can't run anymore. He has to hobble with a cane.
He's going to ride the Undertaker to the ringside. Hey, ladies and gentlemen, Robert and I
Saudi isn't.
Robert and I not only talk about boxing on occasion, Pat Mullen is usually here with us as well, or Dan Lasby, but we also talk movies, and that's our main podcast here. It's Damn You Hollywood. It is Mondays typically on the Radulich Broadcasting Network. We just did reviews of Killers of the Flower Moon. We did one for Exorcist Believer, The Expendables. So go ahead, and every major movie that's come out this year and some minor ones, we've done reviews for a handful of streaming movies as well. That's all up in our archive. It's Damn You Hollywood. Plus, there are 10-minute clips of any one of my podcasts or more up on my TikTok. I am at Mark Radulich on TikTok if you want to check that out, if you just want a smidgen of what we're doing here. All right, back to this. We're in round 10, ladies and gentlemen, the final round. Round 9, ESPN for Fury, 85-85 right now on their card.
The split draw might be. I mean, we joked, but
well, I swear to God, I'm not even going to be mad about it.
I would be mad if you weren't reimbursing me for my pay-per-view. It's
all right, Francis. Going after Tyson Fury here. Tyson Fury, I talked about Francis like not really changing the way he's fighting over course of 10 rounds. Tyson Fury also weirdly not changing anything about his game plan.
No, he does what he does, and
yeah, but he doesn't seem overly exhausted. He's
fine. That man can almost sleepwalk through a 12-round boxing fight at this point.
And he still has pep and stuff. Did you see that? He did a little shuffle there.
Yeah, he's great. Like, his cardio is fine.
Mm-hmm.
He's fought 12 rounds before at a higher pace than this, in a more grueling fight than this. Like, his cardio's not an issue.
Mm-hmm. If Tyson Fury ends up winning the decision here, assuming you don't, blame it on unseen blurkos, all credit in the world to Tyson Fury to be able to take a knockdown and just kind of walk it off and go, it's fine. It's fine.
Yeah, but he's done that so many times before in his career.
It's true.
Tyson
Fury, the dead man of boxing.
The king of getting up.
The king of getting it up?
No, that's not what I said.
Yeah, that's what I heard.
Because you're weird.
All right. We have the last minute of round 10 of this freak show fight, this MMA boxing crossover event.
So, Mark.
Yes, sir.
Please enlighten me as to how this is going to make more fans of boxing.
They're going to want to see Tyson Fury take on Alexander Usyk if they see this majestic performance.
Really?
Shut up, Robert. Oh my God, Francis Ngannou with the Superman punch.
It's legal.
Fury has been knocked down 7 times in his career. That's true.
Yep.
Wouldn't it funny if I'd laugh my ass off if Francis Ngannou had landed a Superman punch and it actually knocked Tyson Fury out.
That would be the funniest thing.
That would be the ESPN highlight of the weekend. And here we go. Tyson Fury just jumping into jiggling, just doing a Jane Fonda's workout in there. Good old Richard Simmons it up.
And we're done here. Really? You weren't going to get a Billy Blanks reference in there?
I ran out of time. All right, folks. As soon as they announce the scorecards, we're going to be done here. So, Robert, go ahead and do your plugs.
Mark mentioned most of my stuff. You can find me on Damn You Hollywood. This week, we're going to have a later one. It'll be Wednesday. Myself, Alexis Haina, Dorian Price, and Jason Teasley will get together and review the Five Nights at Freddy's movie, which seems to be hitting its intended audience, if nothing else.
Yeah, if you're like a 9 or 12-year-old or you've played the game, apparently it was Avengers Endgame. If you're me, you're almost 50 and you've barely even heard of this game. I'm glad I'm not on this review.
We'll be talking about that on Wednesday. You can also find me covering mixed martial arts and professional wrestling over at 411mania.com. I cover whatever MLW is offering on Thursdays, WWE SmackDown on Fridays, UFC events on Saturdays. I occasionally get drafted into other professional wrestling content. So you might see me around in some of the other shows. I cover AW stuff on occasion. Again, whatever's necessary to the website and fits in with my schedule. So there's all that.
All right. Tuesday, I will be doing a podcast on Halloween night with Jesse Starcher. We are doing a podcast series looking at all the great works of David Simon. Who the fuck is David Simon? He's the guy responsible for The Wire, Treme, The Deuce. We've been doing this for almost 2 years now.
He's the guy who's been stuck in a creative rut for almost 2 decades. Let's just call it what it is.
You're in a creative rut. Anyway.
That's very true, but it's still true of him.
We are up to The Deuce Season 2 as we go from the corner to The Deuce. That'll be Tuesday night at 9 o'clock. On Thursday, I've got a double dose of live action for you. First, myself and Sean Comer at noon Eastern Standard Time. We'll be doing what we call We'll be doing a Long Road to Ruin, which is our podcast where we look at franchises, trilogies, whatever. In this particular case, we're looking at the Red Curtain trilogy, which is a series of unconnected movies. But they are Baz Luhrmann, and they are done by Baz Luhrmann, and they are known as the Red Curtain trilogy. And it's Strictly Ballroom, Romeo and Juliet, and Moulin Rouge. And then at night, myself and Pat Mullen, who's been giving us some great commentary from the sidelines as he was able to listen to the broadcast, he and I will be doing Winning Time Thursday night at 9 o'clock. So check that out. Plus, on Halloween, we used to have fun on this network. We're starting to have fun again.
Did we?
But, 2 years of the dark time. Before that, however, we were doing a bunch of movie commentary tracks, etc. And myself, the invisible one, Justin Thomas, and Jesse had some fun at my expense, and we did The Last Unicorn a few years ago. So because we're not doing a Monday show, on Tuesday, Halloween, I will be re-airing our Last Unicorn commentary track, and you can hear me talk about my childhood trauma. It's a great time for all. Family entertainment. Again, for those of you who tuned into our boxing broadcast tonight and want more of that, myself and Pat Mullen do the History of Boxing podcast, where we look at a variety of fights.
It's a real bummer. Francis Ngannou banking $20 million here, setting up for a $25 million potential rematch, just isn't eligible for one of those $50,000 performance of the night bonuses the UFC hands out.
Pat Mullen weighing in. Last Unicorn is awesome on mushrooms. I will take your word for it.
I will take your word for that. I have no interest in mushrooms, and Mark has no interest in The Last Unicorn.
So anyway, still waiting for the scorecards here, but I'm at Mark Radulich on TikTok. Again,
for the record, boxing Twitter is savaging Tyson Fury right now.
Look, if this Tyson Fury shows up December 23rd, he's not walking out with any belts. I'll tell you that much.
That's true. This kind of performance against Usyk will go very badly.
All right, here we go. All right, we have a split something.
95-94, a one-point decision on the third card. Winner by split decision. Still undefeated from the United Kingdom.
Yeah, it tracks.
Tyson Fury wins by split decision. All right, folks.
I can live with it.
10,000 fan votes on ESPN have a 60-40 margin for Ngannou as the winner.
Fans are idiots.
Yeah. I think you'd have to go through the fight with a fine-tooth comb, and this was not the easiest fight to score. I'm not tremendously moved by it. I could have gone either way, quite frankly.
There was one of those scores that I'm not sure I agreed with. That was a little bit heavier for Fury than I thought was warranted,
right. But hey, Francis Ngannou got a good look. Who cares? Francis Ngannou got a good payday. Hopefully,
dude, and hang on. Here's the other thing about this needs to be said.
Yeah.
If Francis Ngannou wants to box again, you tell me you're not interested in him and Deontay Wilder?
Oh, no.
Not just you. I mean, like boxing in general.
Here, the last thing I'm going to say, and then we have to go because I got places to be. If this didn't turn people onto boxing, it made boxing people aware of who Francis Ngannou is, and I think they would like to see. Look, I've seen the heavyweight landscape. No, I don't think anyone who watched this would be uninterested in Francis Ngannou taking on ranked fighters 3 through 10 in the heavyweight division.
Most people don't even know who the 10th ranked heavyweight is.
This guy
right
against
now.
Andy Ruiz, this guy against Martin Bakole, this guy against Deontay Wilder, Anthony Joshua, I think are all fantastic fights and people would pay money for it. This guy against Dillian Whyte. Please, no more fights for Derek Chisora. But you get my you get my
Be nice to Derek Chisora. He didn't hurt you.
Daniel Dubois, Joe Joyce. I mean, Francis Ngannou against any of these guys, I think would be a good fight. So, all right. With that said, I want to thank Robert Winfree for spending an hour with me or so talking this fight.
90 minutes. 90, I can see the clock mark.
Oh my God. 90, not as much, Roadhouse or Gangbusters as I wanted it to be, but still, I think an interesting fight nonetheless. So for Robert Winfree, I'm Mark Radulich. Thank you for checking out our alternative commentary for Tyson Fury versus Francis Ngannou. Please check us out on YouTube, W2M Network, or you can check me out on Twitter and TikTok. I'm at Mark Radulich. It says so right in the box, but if you're hearing just audio of this for some odd reason, MarkRadulich. Check out my TikTok. You can see my kids' new Halloween costumes. It's fantastic. All right. With that said, be well, be safe.
Prostituting your children for views.
I hate that that's going to be the last thing anyone hears. Be well, be safe, and behave.